Today, we are looking at AI models that are officially writing and testing their own code autonomously. The massive hardware shifts triggering a war between centralized tech giants and decentralized rebels, and the ultimate showdown between military demands and consumer privacy. If you're trying to keep up with the accelerating pace of this technology, you already know things are moving violently fast. Welcome to Inuku.com, AI news you can use, your daily dose of AI know-how. Let's get right into it. We have officially crossed the Rubicon. AI models are no longer waiting for us to improve them. They are actively writing their own code, running their own tests, and evolving themselves completely autonomously. Getting right into the mechanics of the new MiniMax M2.7 Foundation model drop, it is staggering. We are literally watching the autonomous spark. This wasn't just a passive training run on a bunch of static data. M2.7 actively participated in designing its own training architecture. It guided its own learning by executing over 100 autonomous cycles, testing itself, spotting its own errors, and refining the code without a single human in the loop. Think of it like a master chef tasting their own soup, autonomously adjusting the spices over and over until it hits Michelin star quality, completely eliminating the need for a human taste tester. The metrics prove this self-optimization loop works. They saw a 30% accuracy jump right out of the gate, hitting 56.2% on SWE Bench and 55.6% on Vibe Pro, officially matching Opus 4.6 and GP 5.3 codecs. But here's the kicker, the cost. It is running at just 30 cents per million input tokens, which is basically nothing. Because it's that incredibly cheap, it is already handling half of the lab's internal research workload. But this autonomous software spark completely forces our hand on the hardware side. If models are spinning up their own training cycles, the physical data centers have to evolve to keep up. Jensen Huang basically confirmed this at GTC 2026 when he announced Agentic Scaling, the fourth major scaling law. To break that term down clearly, Agentic Scaling means moving away from building one massive, monolithic brain, and instead networking thousands of specialized, smaller brains together so they can collaborate. But to do that, the hardware requirements are just nuts. You need 15 times faster token delivery just to handle all these little sub-agents talking to each other, and the routing models themselves have to be 10 times larger just to direct the traffic. This perfectly explains the new preliminary partnership between Samsung and AMD. They are specifically engineering massive, next-generation AI memory to build the physical highways needed to handle multi-agent compute workloads. And because the hardware is finally getting ready for multi-agent systems, the software world is violently splitting in two. We are looking at a great divide. Centralized hyperscale platforms on one side, and a massive decentralized rebellion on the other. Let's look at the centralized push first. OpenAI is going incredibly hard with GPT 5.4. They just dropped the GPT 5.4 mini model, which matches Sonnet 4.6 intelligence, but is 3 times faster and 70% cheaper. It's everywhere now. ChatGPT Codex, the API, and they even have an API-only .o version. Plus, they updated Codex so it now deploys specialized sub-agents that actually execute tasks in parallel. Deploying these agents used to be a nightmare, but they just dropped Blinkclaw, which is an absolute game changer. It completely eliminates the friction. No more terminal commands, no more managing a dozen API keys. It bundles over 180 models and more than 100 enterprise connectors. It just plugs right into Slack, LinkedIn, and HubSpot, connecting your agents to everything instantly. On the other hand, a lot of developers are pushing back hard. They absolutely refuse to be locked into these centralized hyperscalers because nobody wants a single company controlling their entire infrastructure. That is why Ilya Polosukhin, the co-founder of Near, just launched Ironclaw. It is a highly secure, completely decentralized alternative to OpenClaw. The Near ecosystem is building an entire economy around this secure agent marketplace. Your AI can autonomously execute tasks, negotiate with other agents, and literally generate revenue for you, all on a decentralized network. It brings the power back to the individual user. Just look at the new Readwise MCP server. MCP, or Model Context Protocol, allows autonomous agents like Claude Code or Cursor direct and secure access to your entire history of saved articles and reading data without compromising your privacy. It's like handing a brilliant AI ghostwriter the keys to a library containing every thought you've ever had, allowing it to instantly draft your next project. But this exact explosion of decentralized power and effortless app generation is absolutely terrifying the legacy tech giants, and they are making massive defensive moves. Look at Apple. They are quietly blocking updates for generative AI vibe coding applications, specifically hitting platforms like Replit and Vibecode. They are fiercely protecting their traditional App Store ecosystem because dynamic vibe coding breaks their static review process. Then you look across the street at Google, and they are taking the exact opposite approach. They are leaning all the way in. They completely overhauled their Stitch platform into what they are calling Vibe Design. You get this infinite canvas, and you just use Gemini Live for voice editing. You literally just talk to it, and there's an integrated design agent doing parallel tasking in the background, utilizing a brand new .design.md format. The market felt that immediately. Figma's stock dropped 8% in a single day when Google announced that. Speaking of brutal pivots, Meta is in a chaotic situation. They are aggressively realigning, fully shutting down Horizon Worlds VR on the Quest headsets. That is wild, considering they lost $80 billion on Reality Labs since 2020, chasing that metaverse vision. Now they are slashing their workforce by 20% just to fund their new AI infrastructure. But moving that fast is dangerous. We saw that with their recent Sev1 security leak, where an internal Meta AI agent autonomously leaked highly unauthorized company analytics straight to an employee forum. It's like hiring a hyper-efficient corporate assistant who accidentally CCs the entire global staff on your private financial diaries. It wasn't a hack. It's just the network moving faster than the guardrails, which transitions perfectly to the real ultimate battleground, OpenAI's massive GovCloud deal with AWS. We are talking $138 billion to deploy their Frontier Enterprise Agent platform for U.S. classified and unclassified operations. They are putting autonomous agents into classified military environments. But the funny part is, the biggest hurdle right now isn't the security, it's Microsoft. Microsoft is threatening legal action over their Azure exclusivity clauses, leaving Amazon and OpenAI scrambling to find a technical workaround just to keep the deal alive. While all these Western tech giants are suing each other, the global open source community is quietly undercutting the entire market in a trillion-parameter rebellion. Xiaomi finally revealed that their mysterious Hunter Alpha model is actually their MiMo V2 Pro, and it is an absolute beast. It boasts 1 trillion parameters, but it uses a sparse architecture. Let's unlock that term. Imagine a giant trillion-book library, but you only turn on the lights in the specific aisle you need. That saves massive power, activating only 42 billion parameters per pass. They combine that with multi-token prediction, which fundamentally changes how it generates text. It's basically like predictive text that writes whole paragraphs in a single breath, rather than struggling word by word. The result is a model matching GPT 5.2 and Opus 4.6, but at a fraction of the cost. Mistral is doing it too with Small 4, fully open source under Apache 2.0, featuring a unique manual toggle that lets you physically switch the model between high-speed generation and a deep-thinking reasoning mode. All of this, the corporate wars and the massive open-source models, ultimately filters down to rewrite the sensory web on our phones. The visual leaps alone are staggering. Midjourney V8 is in early testing, running 5 times faster with far better detail. Runway just showed off real-time HD video generation running on NVIDIA Vera Rubin hardware, and the latency to the first frame is under 100 milliseconds. It is virtually instant. That completely changes daily browsing. Perplexity's Comet AI iPhone browser now constantly summarizes pages as you browse. Google is deeply integrating personal intelligence across US Search, Gemini Mobile, and Chrome. It's all about connecting the workflow, much like Claude Dispatch for cowork, which connects your phone straight to your desktop so you can access local files and manage cloud code sessions from anywhere. Not every company is thriving in this shift, though. Traditional media is desperately trying to adapt, BuzzFeed took a $57.3 million net loss, prompting Jonah Peretti to launch branch office at SXSW to completely pivot into AI social apps like BF Island, Conjure, and Quiz Party. But with all this tracking and AI integration, the consumer privacy pushback is getting incredibly strong. Proton Mail just launched Born Private, allowing parents to secure a zero-tracking inbox for their kids from birth to age 15 using zero-access encryption. For a $1 donation, you can completely dodge big tech profiling before your kid even grows up. And that privacy and security debate is colliding with the final boss of this whole shift: global governments and the military. The DoD just filed a 40-page legal rebuttal against Anthropic, arguing that AI safety limits are actually a wartime national security risk. The Trump administration is asserting that designating Anthropic as a supply chain risk does not violate First Amendment rights. It is a fascinating tension. Look at Anthropic's own global sentiment study of 81,000 users. On one hand, the military is demanding totally unrestricted access for warfare. On the other hand, everyday users, specifically those using AI for emotional support, are 3 times more likely to fear deep technological dependence. It's an incredible paradox. The military wants the safety rails off, and consumers are terrified the rails aren't strong enough. Lawmakers are scrambling. Senator Blackburn is drafting the Trump America AI Act to codify the December 2025 executive order and explicitly preempt state-level regulations to create one unified national standard. Meanwhile, the EU is formally advancing a sweeping ban on any unauthorized sexually explicit AI imagery. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a reminder that you can find more insights like this at inuku.com. So let's step back and summarize exactly what this all means for you and your workflow right now. The biggest actionable insight here is that the entire paradigm has shifted from passive tools to autonomous networks. Models are now writing, testing, and optimizing their own code without us. They are guiding their own training architectures, and autonomous agents are already trading and executing tasks in decentralized marketplaces at light speed. If you are building or investing in this space, you need to recognize the massive hardware and software pivot happening today. Hardware is physically changing to support agentic scaling, moving away from single giant brains to sprawling networks of communicating subagents. On the software side, you have a critical choice to make. Lock into the incredibly fast, seamless integrations of centralized hyperscalers like OpenAI's Blinkclaw, or secure your privacy and autonomy by moving to decentralized, open-source ecosystems like Ironclaw, Readwise MCP, and sparse architecture models like Xiaomi's MiMo V2 Pro. For everyday tech enthusiasts, the sensory web is about to become instantaneous and omnipresent. From sub-100 millisecond video generation to browsers that read and summarize alongside you, the friction between thought and digital creation is disappearing. But with that loss of friction comes the ultimate collision of privacy and power, which leaves us with one incredible thought to close on. If AI models are now guiding their own evolution, and agent networks are operating faster than human oversight, at what point does human legislation become just a simple bottleneck that these networks naturally route around? If the network moves faster than the law, who is actually regulating whom? It's something to seriously mull over as your personal agent drafts your emails today. And that's your daily dose of AI know-how from inuku.com, AI news you can use. We'll catch you next time.